We can let's move over here and let's talk. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. I wanted to expand on that idea of Division II teams having these joint practices. And the first teams that we'll talk about just a little bit, we'll just mention these teams. And this is a tweet put out by Upper Iowa here just the other day. It says, good day for it. Awesome experience and some great work for our guys today. Thanks to Coach and Winona State football for their first-class hospitality. So they went over to Winona State.
13,000 views.
Yeah, we got a couple photos. Here you have just like a little bit of a look of what they had going on over there. They believe that the Warriors, and there's a good shot. They had the officiating crews out there, both squads. And this is interesting because Winona State, they don't have their quote-unquote spring game, Drew, until April 20th. So they have 6 more days. As of recording this, they have 6 days until their actual spring game.
I wonder when they started.
Yeah,
it's a late game.
This is. April 20th is a very late spring game. Most teams are already wrapped up by now. But we mentioned it earlier, just build out, like, what are the benefits of seeing somebody else in the spring?
Yeah, like we talked about in NFL level. I think it's very hard for college levels to do this, especially, you look at the D1 level. You don't see Michigan going over to Central or, hey, Western, you want to, come get beat up by Michigan or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the D2 teams, it's very hard to kind of do that because of just travel and all that hospitality, whatever. I think that I'm not sure are Upper Iowa and Winona in the same conference.
So no, and they used to be though.
Okay.
And because Upper Iowa is moved now, they're in the GLVC. They dropped out of the NSIC, where Winona's at. So it is a non-conference.
I think that's
deal.
a very important, part because if you look at someone in the GLIAC, right? Let's just say that Hillsdale they're in the GMAC, was trying to have a spring practice, and they were like, hey, Wayne State, we don't play you this year. You don't play us. We'd love to. I think it's a really good idea for those teams because it allows, like we talked about, eventually, when you're hitting against your roommate every single day.
Shit gets old,
or
kind of quick.
Yeah, and you're just like, we've played this offense every single day in practice. We're not even supposed to be. You're game planning for your offense that's going to try to help you points in the fall. It does nothing outside of just get more reps. It'd be kind of cool to be like, hey, we're going to game plan, just a quick game plan for Hillsdale, quick game plan for Michigan Tech. You know what I'm trying to say, where it's like something like that. And I think Upper Iowa and Winona.
There you go.
Thank you. They're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, 100%. And we've got 2 other kind of matchups to talk about here with 4 other teams getting involved. But that's the big thing I think I got out of this is that you can get, as a coaching staff, you could get strategic in this. We were up at the Michigan Tech, kind of their spring game, spring practice, whatever. And you see those coaches and, there's not a whole lot of stuff to correct when you're going up against your defense that in their situation, they're probably not going to see that front or that style throughout the entire season. So now as a coach and a coaching staff, you could actually get pretty strategic, in how you schedule this game. Mm-hmm. Hey, we know that I'm going to use, here's absolute bullshit that I've no real pieces here. I'm just, Northern Michigan coach. We know we got to play Michigan Tech, and it's a big rivalry game for us. We want to make sure we're absolutely prepared for that. It'd be a huge win for us as a program. Yeah. We know they have 6 guys in the box. They have a LA defender and a Mike linebacker that plays like this. They like to stunt on the line. They have these certain characteristics and these certain fronts. They play a lot of cover 3, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And we know that, hey, again, this is also bullshit and just hearsay. I just have to preface it with that. We know that, hey, there's a team down maybe over in Minnesota that we're not going to play against. Let's go down and play against Bemidji, which, funny enough, is the team that Tech plays week 0. Yeah, but again, besides the point, we know that, hey, Bemidji runs something very similar, and now we actually can get those quote-unquote live. They probably didn't go live very much, but quote-unquote live reps against that kind of look. I think that's something that's great for those guys, because like you said, you're not going to get as much running against your defense because that might not be a system or a front that you even see all year.
That's what I was going to get at when you were talking about that is, let's just say like I said, making up stuff.
All bullshit here.
You're Alma, and all of a sudden you run a Bearcat defense, and you're like, we're the only team in the MIAA that runs a Bearcat defense. Why is our offense going up against these guys every day? There's no point. They're never going to see this until potentially playoffs. Let's go schedule a team that runs a 4-3 or runs a 3-4 or uses more nickel packages, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all it does is help you guys out. And, okay, who's the second team?
So here we go. Now we've got another example of some more teams that kicked it off with joint practice. This is McKendree, the Bearcats, out of the GLVC, going up against Missouri Southern State out of the MIAA, because it's that Missouri conference. So two teams that were relatively middle of the road. Missouri Southern, I believe, did have a big-time upset with this last year and surprised some people in a few games, but ultimately finished kind of, again, middle of the road. McKendree has kind of been, I guess, the third in that conference, was behind Indy and
Did you
Truman.
guys play McKendree a couple years ago?
We did.
That's
yes.
what I thought. I remember
and
watching
they actually,
film.
if I'm not mistaken, McKendree's coming off a pretty decent year as well. So two teams that, once again, are at very similar points, I think, and I'm sure that was an objective of getting that done. But you talk about the
They
travel.
don't play each other either, right?
No, they don't. They don't play each other. Talk about the travel, too, would be kind of an interesting piece. Again, like where, I guess I have to see. It says with Missouri Southern, so I'm assuming this is they're in Lebanon, Illinois, McKendree is. So I'm assuming that's where it was located. But there's a couple of pictures from that, and it just kind of goes along the lines of, I just wanted to showcase that there are more teams actually taking advantage of this. It looks like Missouri Southern is kind of in like the game unis, and then McKendree's got just the practice pennies on. Yeah. Doesn't that look kind of funny? I just realized that.
It's very interesting.
That's definitely a game uniform, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that red jersey is definitely a practice jersey.
Look at this.
Yeah.
That's a practice unit if I've ever seen one. And you saw the picture in the last thing of the referee surrounded by all the guys. You know what they were talking about?
Probably the knee pads.
Probably that.
Probably that guy.
Look at that.
That guy right there is costing his team 15 yards.
Dude. And like some guys, like, try to at least hide it a little bit. This man has his pants rolled halfway up his thigh.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to you, man. That's bold. Could never be me. That is insane. That's insane.
I think that, you know, he's definitely got some drippy photos out of that.
For sure.
You know,
I mean, as dripped out as you can get with the practice penny on,
cool.
right? Like,
looks cool. It also looks cool when you're able to suit up the next game.
Oh, there it is.
You know what I mean?
There it is.
But like, no, I understand the whole, like, trust me, every player, including myself, is trying to get away with a little bit of knee pad, you know, whatever. But yeah, that was crazy.
Absolutely. And then finally rounded out with this one from Matt Witwicky from D2Football.com. Stop by the MSUM football, that's Minnesota State University Moorhead, for those of you who aren't great with acronyms out there, at Sioux Falls spring scrimmage yesterday. So this is more of a scrimmage, both in game uniforms. They both got the memo on that, Mark. He said, great weather, both teams on the end zone, and an evenly contested afternoon, more picks to follow.
Ooh,
this one's more interesting. These guys are both in the same conference.
Oh. Like, we'll play each other?
No.
Okay.
That's the thing. But they are both NSIC teams. Remember, the NSIC is so large, and they have the separate deal that not all of the teams
like
overlap
the GLIAC
and see
used to
each
be.
other. Yes, exactly. So that is an instance where this does make sense. But even still, seeing technically a conference foe.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. But then you have to think about, in this case scenario, this isn't a team you'll play this year. But who's to say that next year these guys don't have a matchup? Maybe this comes. I don't know if it even comes into obviously a different team and everything, but
different team, could be different coaches.
Interesting. And then like kind of the last point I wanted to leave on this whole scrimmage idea of scrimmages and joint practices. These are getting filmed, obviously.
Yes.
Now, because you have this scrimmage in the spring, obviously teams go through a good bit of changes from April all the way to August and September or whatever. But is there any chance that potentially a team comes and tries to source video from someone who they have a common opponent? You know what I mean?
Like Bill Belichick?
You know what I mean? We need some more video of this Moorhead team, and we just don't know where to... Like, what's the most recent video? Yeah, we could probably go get their last game of last year, but wouldn't it be a better indicator to go get their spring football footage?
No, I understand. I don't think...
And I don't know what the gentleman's rules are like there. You know what I mean?
Rule. I do think that's a great idea, though, because obviously we both know that the last play of your previous season is not the same team you rolled down with in the spring.
Sometimes not even close.
Yeah, because, you know, I just know that, you know, there's certain guys that aren't at Northwood anymore, graduation, anything like that. Like the last, you know, 2 games of us versus Thomas More and Walsh, that's not the same team that is rolling out in the spring game.
Yeah.
For, you know what I mean? So like I understand where it's like you're like, oh, okay, let's check in on this personnel. Oh, the all conference linebacker is gone. Oh, the all conference defensive end tore his ACL. Oh, you know what I mean? Like you find stuff like that out that like when you're in spring ball, you kind of keep that, you know, close to the chest.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the big thing too is one, the guys that are out of eligibility and moving on, yeah, it's easy to
you
put
kind of
two and
figure
two
that
together.
out. Not, I mean, today's day and age, you never know.
That's also true. We're kind of getting out of that phase finally. But
Yeah,
then you
thank
have
you.
guys that are just hitting the portal out of nowhere, guys who have injuries. And then the other big thing is too, say you have someone go down at a key position and now they've got a backup who comes in that there's potentially no tape on for the last year. Maybe you've got a stud left tackle that has graduated and is going to go try and play some pro ball.
Yeah.
The dude behind him has been waiting 3 years
Yeah.
to get some real snaps.
You got a drop back passer, and then all of a sudden he went down first week in spring ball. Torn ACL, probably not going to make it to the start of the season.
Enough of the ACLs.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I feel like that's just the most. We'll go Achilles. Shout out Tegan Kogler, my guy.
Jeez.
Finally got cleared. But
Absolutely.
torn Achilles or something like that, and then you got a dual threat guy, and it's
now
like that changes
potentially-
your scheme.
Yeah, because you know you're going to be rolling with that guy potentially through the entire
he might not be able
duration
to
of the
throw
season.
a 15-yard out, but he might be able to take one to the house himself. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
So something like that.
Hell yeah.
I feel like it changes your thing, and if you're a coach and you're like, you know what, I might as well stop by. Let me see what they got going on over there in Sioux Falls. Is that what it's called?
Yes. And I'd have to see what, I don't know, again, off the top of my head, what the rules are like as far as, sending people to those games to film. But, like, I know obviously these coaches all have their agreements. Like, you get game film when you're scouting all these opponents.
Yeah.
And so they're sourcing them from other coaches. And that exchange, I've never been a part of those conversations, but that exchange happens very often. I would assume it's a lot of, like, a you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah, imagine it's just like, hey, what can you give me? Hey, what you got on
Coach, let me get a little.
what you got on Sioux Falls?
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine. His name's Connor Stallions. He went over to this.
We're going to send him over to the
spring
Panthers to see
game.
what's going on. Yeah. Don't worry, he wore shades
Yeah.
and a CMU hat.
He grew a mustache. He's looking good. He'll be on the sideline.
We'll